lovely family with us this morning.
Hello.
Hello, and you're the Stevens family?
Yes.
And your names are?
Clint.
My name is Acosta. I go by Sam.
Sam.
This is Samantha.
Samantha.
And what's your name? Maddox.
Okay, nice to see you. All right, let's hear the story.
We had Maddox in 2012, and we went just from the hospital, and we got every vaccine that was recommended for him.
Did you question it or?
No, I think in my gut I questioned it, and we kind of talked to our doctor about autism risk, but he quickly diffused it for us. Just like, oh, that's just science that proves.
The first kid, you think the doctors know the best,
Yeah. And we worked in the medical field. We just never questioned anything. But like I said, I had a gut feeling.
So when you say you worked in a medical field, in what way?
I did admin stuff, or I still do. I do work in practice, hospital management, and he's an electrician, and a commercial electrician. So that's where we actually met, is at the hospital we worked for. But Maddox had the normal schedule of vaccines. And over the course of that first year, there were some illnesses that required antibiotics, ear infection, strep throat, multiple doses of Tylenol and ibuprofen. When he received his MMR, the day he received it, was the day after his first birthday. And I remember talking to the doctor that day and telling him that he had, because they kind of go through their milestones with you at the doctor's appointment, checking and seeing, are they walking, are they talking? And I think we said he had 20 to 30 words at one. And quickly, within a week or two after that MMR, there were no immediate symptoms, no seizures, no fevers. We started noticing that he wasn't speaking anymore. No mama, no dada, no, not even the word no, like the words that he had been saying since he was 10 months old. And we're gearing up for his 15-month appointment. And one of the things that kind of validated the speech regression for us, because other people weren't around him so much that they noticed it, is a lady that worked at his daycare had left right before his first birthday. And when she came back, or she had came back shortly before he was 15 months old, and we had been talking to the doctor about his speech regression. And when we went and picked him up at daycare that day, the lady was there, and she was like, wasn't Maddox talking before I left? And this was somebody else who had spent months with my child, knew my child, probably spent just as much time we had with him, because she had him since he was 6 weeks old. And then she spent a period of time separated from him, so she kind of validated, yeah, there is a speech regression. I've noticed it. About this time, we get pregnant with our second child, and Maddox, we expressed the concerns to our doctor, and he tells us that was normal for boys to regress in speech after one and to start making grunts and groans and kind of caveman noises.
So let's just get that straight. It is normal for a boy to regress after one,
yes,
make grunting noises, and
quit speaking, but start more of a caveman type phase.
I mean, we're in a bad place when doctors say that.
Yeah. At 15 months, he received his varicella vaccine and his first ever flu shot.
15 months, his vaccine's in his first flu shot.
Yeah. Was that his first flu shot? Or no, I think the year before he had one, but we didn't do the booster. I think at 6 months he had one.
He had a flu shot at 6 months.
I'm not completely positive about that one, but I know he had one at 15 months.
Okay.
And he had diarrhea for like 2 or 3 weeks after that. We kept taking him back to the doctor, and there was no known reason. And finally, he admitted that sometimes the flu shot can kind of destroy your gut bacteria a little bit, but he'll be fine. Don't give him any dairy, and I think that's when we started him on almond milk. We still gave him dairy like cheeses and stuff. When she was born, we decided to not go with the normal schedule. We were still scared about certain diseases like pertussis, whooping cough. So we decided we declined all vaccines at the hospital, but at 2 months we decided we were going to do DTaP with her. And I'll pick up more on Maddox in a second, but we did DTaP with her at 2 months. And at 2 months, he got his second flu shot. He got a booster.
So he was how old when he got his booster?
She was 2 months. He was 2.
See, about 17, 18 months.
Yeah, because the doctor said he needed a second one.
I don't understand why
It hadn't even been a
why
year.
they're having so many flu shots on such little children. I don't understand that.
And we just went right with him. Like, okay. And I didn't even do flu shots myself.
So he had one at a year. He had a flu shot
At 15 months,
15
and then
months,
again
and then
at 2. So it hadn't even been a year. And she had immediately, right away, we just did that one vaccine with her because we were already suspicious that the MMR had caused his regression.
And let's make this absolutely clear. These are not baby flu shots. They're not reduced. These are the same flu shots they give to fully grown adults.
I believe so.
Yes.
I believe so. And right away, she got a little bit of eczema on her face. So at 2 months, she was 2 months old. We got her DTaP, which she had a reaction to on her face with the eczema. At the same appointment, we talked to the doctor about his regression. And he said, well, let's do some... Sorry. He said, let's do some speech and hearing tests. Was it? Yeah, 2 months. We decided to have his hearing tested and his speech because she was a little baby when we went and had his...
He was close to 2.
Yeah, he was... Yeah. So we went and had that testing done. Hearing test was normal. They couldn't really evaluate speech because there was no speech at 2. Again, we get her another Tdap at 4 months, and then another one at 6 months. And by then, her face was oozing and bleeding. Her face, she looked like a burn victim. And that's when we said we're stopping, 100%. His last shot was that flu shot, and then her last shot was that third DTaP shot. And still at that time, my chiropractor had recommended a detox for him. It had some low-level chelators, and we started that about 2.5. And right away, his speech exploded as soon as we got maybe 2 weeks into that treatment. But he would still have meltdowns that would last 3 hours. He would hurt himself. He would try to hurt us. I'm over 200 pounds, and I couldn't hold him down. He would overpower me with his with these fits he would have. And I think the hardest part was we thought he was just at some point just being a bad kid, I was thinking in the middle of a fit, I'm supposed to help him and protect him, and here I'm trying to get him to calm down because I'm thinking he's part of it's just being bad and rotten, and I'm not disciplining him enough. She's 1, he's 3, and this is when we tell our doctor no more vaccines because she hadn't been seen since 6 months. And we were talking to him about Maddox. Well, the first thing he said about her, she needed her MMR, and measles could kill her.
She didn't remember what?
He was trying to talk us into getting her MMR. And I said, no, not after what happened with my son. And he said, well, measles could kill her. And I said, well, so could a staph infection or MRSA. And we work at a hospital, and who knows what we're bringing home with us. And she's got open sores on her face. So that was the more immediate concern with her, with the reaction she was having. And he admitted that the eczema and the sores were potentially a side effect to those DTaPs. And then with Maddox, we talked about his regression. At 3, he was speaking okay, but he was still having his meltdowns. And he had, before that, told us to isolate him. Oh, he's just throwing a temper tantrum, you need to isolate your child. Put him in his room for a minute. We put him in his room, and he would turn that room upside down. he'd be in there screaming and crying for 2 hours. He'd lost all control of his emotions, and we explained that to his doctor, the pediatrician we had had for the first 3 years, and he said, well, some children are predisposed to autism. And he said sometimes the MMR vaccine or a vaccine can bring that out. But it would have happened anyway. If he got sick or if he experienced any kind of trauma, once he had the flu or an illness, that would have brought the autism out too. So I said, wouldn't it have been better though if those things, what if he never got sick and that wouldn't have brought it out? Wouldn't it have been better if he established all his milestones and established speech before we had ever injected him? We were still struggling with meltdowns, and we decided at that point, we need a new doctor. We don't need to be taking our kids. We need somebody that's going to help our child and be on the same page with us. By this point, you know, we were both a team here. We definitely weren't going to do any more vaccinations. We also have our third child on the way that will be 100%.
Right now?
Right now.
Baby coming.
Baby coming.
When's your baby due?
January 13th.
Oh.
14th. Yes.
Okay, good stuff. And you know what to do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're
Stay away from everyone.
Yeah. So, Maddox, I think what really made us seek further help. So this doctor's hitting that he's got nonverbal autism, and he's wanting us to see a neurologist and get a formal diagnosis. And working in the medical field and insurance, I didn't want to go. I kind of balked at that diagnosis. I didn't want that on file with the insurance. I didn't want to have to go through behavioral health because, you know, I felt it was a medical condition. I'm not going to go through behavioral health and ABA therapy. Something, you know, this was triggered by a medical procedure. We need something, somebody that's going to help him. And New Year's this year, 10 months ago, he's still having his meltdown. 9.5 months ago, I went on a trip to see my mother, and he had been doing okay, but because we were out of town, he was out of his element, out of his comfort zone. He was having back-to-back meltdowns. He'd strip naked and throw fits. We were in the hotel, and the lock on the hotel at the top of the door, he had jiggled that door so much that he broke that lock off, and the door was coming off the hinges. And my mom had to step out and have a breakdown because she was so worried about him. She had never seen a child behave that way. And then that's when we reached out to a local Dan doctor, Defeat Autism Now, and got him on a diet and supplements. And I'd say within the first 2 weeks of just having him on a gluten, dairy-free diet, cutting sugars, cutting dyes, and then getting those supplements and getting his nourishment correct, thank you, he completely did a 180. And I think other than some delayed speech and the occasional meltdown here and there when he's given gluten, he's pretty much on point now with most 4-year-olds. And I see kids that are still struggling. We've been very lucky to find the support groups that we have and the physicians that we have. Their new PCP is completely on board with us not vaccinating. You know, she agrees. And then the Dan doctor that we see is helping him tremendously.
You're certainly doing very well.
And then we've healed her gut too, and her eczema. She's got some residual eczema a little bit on her legs that kind of come and goes, but for the most part, there's no real permanent damage. I think they're gonna live normal lives because we stopped feeding in and started questioning, the medical field altogether. So they're doing really good.
Thank you.
Am I missing something?
That sounds good.